Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today I want to talk about cheating in multiplayer video games and what the long-term ramifications are for the gaming industry, what the unseen or undesired consequences can be from an unregulated cheating economy. I also want to talk about the different way that developers and even legal or governing systems deal with cheating and hack makers in different countries, and talk about what some of the best potential solutions are to fixing the cheating epidemic in multiplayer video games. Now, this is something that's in the news all the time. I do weekly news videos talking about everything going on in the first-person shooter gaming world, and first-person shooters really do seem to be the epicenter of video game cheats. Certainly not the only place that they exist, but it is one of the more popular places to try and get an unfair advantage over your opponents. Shooters also make up some of the most popular games in the world, with the recent runaway success of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds with over 26 million copies sold. BattlEye recently announced some of the numbers of players that have been banned from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and it makes up over 10% of the total copies sold. Absolutely insane. We're talking well over 2 million players that have been banned from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds for cheating. It's an epidemic in gaming, to say the least, and it's been something that the gaming industry has been fighting against for years and years. This is nothing new. It's just hitting critical mass, I would say, in today's current gaming culture. Counter-Strike has been dealing with rampant cheating ever since the early days. It was one of my go-to games, but I remember back in 2003, I actually just got so fed up with the hacking situation that I stopped playing the game altogether during Counter-Strike 1.6. And although I haven't really gone back to Counter-Strike in any sort of serious way, I hear from friends who still play it regularly that cheating is still pretty darn bad. So considering that Valve has been fighting against the cheating epidemic in Counter-Strike for almost 2 decades without any sort of good solution to the problem, it does make me wonder, will developer-based anti-cheat solutions ever really be truly up to the task of dealing with the never-ending evolution of cheats and hacking software that exploits games and ruins the experience for many gamers out there? If a massive company like Valve can't implement a good anti-cheat system, what hope do small-time developers have of stopping the cheating epidemic? As if innovating and creating a brand new game concept that players want to play wasn't hard enough already, you now also have to have a robust anti-cheat system so that once players do enjoy your game and like it, then it isn't ruined by hackers. Yesterday I was reading up on a couple of cool new indie shooters that were in development. There's one called Fear of Wolves that looks kind of cool. It's got a post-apocalyptic setting to it. It's being developed by some of the ex-developers from the Stalker franchise, and it's by the same developers who made Survarium. And I was thinking, Survarium, that rings a bell. Oh yeah, sure, I made a video or two on this game a while back when it came out, and remembering that game, I was thinking, you know what, this game was completely overrun by hackers. It was a cool little concept. I thought it had some potential, but while I was playing it, even in the very early beta phases of the game, it was completely overrun with hackers. Very difficult to get a single game in without a cheater coming in and ruining it for me. And I was thinking while reading the article about this cool new Battle Royale style game and thinking, you know what, this would be fun to play. I then remembered Survarium and was thinking, you know what, what's the point? If the developers can't stop the cheating in their previous game, what makes me think that they're going to be able to stop the cheating in this game? And I kind of came to the realization that the anti-cheat software portion of a game is now just as important as the developer's ability to create a cool, interesting concept for me to like. And that's really disappointing because it's expensive to get anti-cheat software and dedicate a huge portion of your funds to the anti-cheat aspect of your game. There's companies that try and make it easier for you, like Fair Fight and BattlEye, that provide tools that are designed to integrate to your game and try and help you regulate it, but they also cost money to use their tools. It's not free. And this is just like a really disappointing aspect of modern game development. And it's not even one of those things that's limited to new indie games or highly popular shooters like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or Counter-Strike, but also older games that have now fallen out of the spotlight and are not being focused on as much by developers. I've gone back to playing Battlefield 4 a bunch recently, recording some fun gameplay episodes with Matimio, and every single time we've gone back to play Battlefield 4 over the course of like a 1 to 3 hour period, we have found at least one hacker, if not multiple hackers in those games. A lot more than we used to see, and it's probably because that game just is not being as well supported anymore. It's an older game. It doesn't make sense for EA to dedicate resources to maintaining Battlefield 4 in the way it was maintained during its height. And so a multiplayer game that I have many fond memories of playing becomes far less enjoyable to go back to simply because of the unregulated cheating environment. And this isn't a critique of EA or any older game that's become overrun with hackers. It seems to be just the way things go. You can find many other examples of this in the gaming world, in which the older games you used to play are just absolutely ruined with rampant hacking, and it just doesn't make sense for developers to go back and constantly update their cheat software to try and deal with the ever-evolving cheating economy. And the cheating economy is robust and making a lot of money right now. Players often have to pay subscription fees to get certain cheats. Cheat makers are actually like incorporating. Some of them are companies. These companies are getting sued by game developers. There's this massive legal battle going on between game developers and cheat makers. In fact, China imprisoned over 100 cheat makers that were affecting the PUBG economy recently. And there's also been some legal battles between game developers and people using cheats. In Japan, some teenagers were hit with criminal lawsuits because they were simply just using cheats repeatedly in their games. And it's interesting now to see if maybe the legal route will be the future of combating cheaters. I mean, what if cheating in a video game became an illegal activity in the country that you're in? All of a sudden you see somebody get arrested or get fined or get a criminal record for cheating in video games. Would this then change the cheating landscape or the cheating demographic in the world? It is pretty well known that a lot of the cheaters in games are younger people, especially people that may not have a great understanding of the law. But I do imagine once people started getting arrested or charged with things, the word would spread pretty darn quickly that, hey, guess what? If you cheat in video games, bad things will happen to you, not just on your computer, but in the real world. If implemented properly, this could be a massive win for game developers and gamers alike. AAA developers wouldn't have to spend a huge amount of money supporting old titles and preventing cheaters from ruining the games. Indie developers wouldn't have to section off a huge section of their limited budget towards developing anti-cheat software or integrating anti-cheat software into their game. And gamers could go and play old games and not have to deal with cheaters on a massive level. It's kind of a win for everybody. And hopefully it's something that countries and governments and legal legislation starts to look into in the near future. There's certainly been a lot of progress made towards eliminating cheat developers. In South Korea and China, there's already legislation that makes it illegal to make cheats for video games, and you can face prison time for doing so. But what about the consumer level of it as well? Because if some countries don't have any legislation against it, they'll become the hotbeds for creating cheats for other games, and people around the world will be able to get cheats from whichever country doesn't have legislation. So the anti-cheat laws would probably have to target the consumer level of cheating as well, not just the development level. Of course, then there's playing with gamers internationally. What if your country has anti-cheat laws, but not another country, and that country is playing in your servers, and all of a sudden you've got hackers coming in from other countries? It is a complicated situation, and the solution for it isn't necessarily simple, but I imagine we'll probably see some bigger crackdown on cheating on a more legal level than an anti-cheat software level in the near future. Korea and China seem to be making the biggest progress in this department. Likely we'll be looking to them to see how they've implemented their laws and how it's affecting their gaming culture. And if it works, I'm sure many Western nations will be adopting similar laws. It's unfortunate that most gaming culture has had to just accept the fact that cheating is going to be a part of just about any competitive multiplayer game out there. But I think with the amount of money in the gaming industry now and the fact that legislation can sort of wrap their head around the concepts of cheating in video games, we may very well see some major steps in fighting cheating on a legal level that could change the gaming and cheating landscape, hopefully forever. It's kind of exciting to think about the fact that maybe cheating doesn't have to be a constant or just something that you have to deal with in video games. I love the idea of having to explain to your kids when they grow up of what a hackuzation is, or what a video game cheater is, or was rather, because it could be something that they never hear about or never have to deal with in their gaming lifetime. Anyway, I think the subject matter is really interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. What do you think about combating cheating, the current methods that are being employed, and the future methods that will be the most successful? Do you support fighting cheats on a legal level, or do you think it's something that each developer should be responsible for their own game in fighting the cheating economy? As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.